excited that you're excited about healing and improving your body and learning new ways to do that. As we go through this today, this presentation, first I would love to make you guys aware of who Laser Recovery Institute is in our core values. First off, we are empowered through education. Our goal is to not only provide you high quality products, but to be able to educate you in ways of healing your mind and your body so that you can have a life of health. We are driven by compassion. All of our interactions, all of our therapy sessions is all driven by compassion and care for you and for ourselves, and really focusing on improving one's health. We are evidence-driven in healing. We are grounded in science. We use research-backed laser technologies to deliver safe and effective results. We're grounded in holistic health, believing that treating the whole person and not just the symptoms, mind and body, and the spirit matter here. All of it matters. And innovating with integrity. We're committed to staying on cutting-edge technology so we can continually improve and provide you with the best education that we can give and also the best products. To the history of lasers, I'm going to turn the time over to my beautiful wife, Brittany, and she will share some of that with us.
Caleb mentioned I'm here to talk about lasers and their history. It's kind of a fascinating journey, but it started from a scientific curiosity that blossomed into a tool that we know today as a laser. So in 1917, who I call the GOAT of innovation, Albert Einstein, wrote a paper on the quantum theory of radiation and introduced the concept of simulated emission, which is defined as the process where an excited atom, when struck by a photon, releases a second identical photon to the photon that did the striking. So for decades, this principle remained in the realm of physics theory until the technology caught up about 40 years later. So we fast forward to the 1950s where two, what are they called? People that do physics. Physicists. Charles Townes and Arthur Schawlow were working on a device that could amplify microwaves through simulated emission, the maser, which is short for microwave amplification by simulated emission and radiation, which is a mouthful, so I'm just going to refer to it as maser. So the maser was successfully built in 1953. This was a key milestone in building a laser. However, at the time, it only worked with microwaves, so no visible light. And then 5 years later, in 1958, those same two scientists, Townes and Schawlow, theorized that maser could be applied to light waves. They even published a paper proposing how the maser could amplify visible light, which promoted the race to build the first working laser. So not 2 years later, in 1960, the first laser was built by Theodore Milan at Hughes Research Laboratory in California. Milan used a synthetic ruby crystal and a flashlight to produce a coherent red beam of light, the first ever successful laser. Not surprisingly, the scientific community was initially skeptical, as scientists are. They want everything to be proven, right? So that changed, though, quickly inside of a few years, as many different kinds of lasers came out. There was gas lasers, semiconductors, dyes, other crystals that were being used, and more. They were developed, and each with their own properties and applications. So then sometime in the early 1960s, lasers began moving from the lab to more real-world applications. And then in 1964, the CO2 laser was invented, which proved incredibly helpful for cutting and welding metals. And at the same time, the helium neon lasers became popular in education and research due to their ease of operation and low cost. So then by the late 1960s, laser technology was everywhere. In optical disc technology, telecommunication, barcode scanners, hemolography, light shows, and in movies used as futuristic weapons, making it seem like it was far removed from real-world applications. However, over the next 10 years, much research was taking place on how to better use and advance the lasers and their technology to put them into more real-life application to benefit human life. So during the 1970s and 1980s, lasers became increasingly important in medicine and defense. In medicine, lasers were used for eye surgery, now known as LASIK, which has restored vision for millions of people. It has also begun being used in dentistry, oncology, dermatology, and exploring applications for treatments and diagnosis. At the same time, so during the 70s and 80s, the medical industry was finding advancements in laser technology as well as our military. They explored high-power lasers for missile defense and range finding. Although many of those findings are classified, still, the precision of laser targeting systems quickly became essential for our modern military operations. Then came the digital revolution. One of the most transformative uses of lasers emerged during the 1980s and 90s with the innovation of the digital data storage and communication. Lasers became the heart of technologies like CDs, for us oldies, DVDs, Blu-ray, and on and on. In telecommunications, fiber optics allowed for data to travel vast distances at the speed of light. Without lasers, we wouldn't have access to much knowledge like we do now. It would not be at our fingertips like it is. And our modern communication would cease to exist as we know it, if it existed at all. And then I guess that brings us to today. What are real world uses now? Today, lasers, they're all around us. They're in our homes, they're in our cars, hospitals, factories. They're used to cut metal with precision, perform delicate surgeries, scan groceries. I do that probably daily. And then just entertain us, from movies in the theaters with projectors to light shows at a concert, as well as playing a huge role in fields like quantum communication, LiDAR mapping, autonomous vehicles, and of course, space exploration. Then there are the medical applications that are evolving today. We're learning more and more and more all the time about the outstanding benefits and possibilities of lasers, from wound healing to pain relief to neurotherapies, which is our main topic of research at Laser Recovery Institute. We'll hear more about exactly how that all works from our Dr. Hogue over here, our neuroscientist and neurologist. But from 1917 to the first working laser in 1960, we have come a long way as far as laser research is concerned. It took over a century to get it right, but we're there. Lasers have gone from being a solution looking for a problem to one of the most versatile and transformative technologies we've ever created. As a company, though, we are choosing to focus on the medical benefits, which are many, and we will go into that further as we plan to help the average person learn how to use the lasers, as well as how to heal themselves from many mental and physical problems with lasers. So
I think we can all agree that it is absolutely fascinating, the history of lasers and how far they've come, and just how much we rely on them in everyday life, whether we realize it or not.
Yep. In 1986 or 87,
we had a home teacher, a good family friend who was pretty wealthy and invited us over to his house, and he had a laser projector, and it was high end and pretty unheard of in the day. Fancy stuff. It is fancy stuff. Yeah. Are you able to play the audio? I think so. Okay. So we'll next go to Laura Hogue. She's going to teach us a little bit more about how light is used in healing and the effectiveness of that.
I've been asked to speak a little about my experience with light therapies, possibly because I've had such a long-standing excitement about light therapy. Several years ago, I desperately wanted to buy a blue light laser. I don't remember now exactly why I wanted this particular laser, but I was deeply disappointed to discover that the price at the time was $40,000. So I settled for high-quality red lights, which cost just over $1,000. I've absolutely loved these lights, and on occasion had almost unbelievable results for myself and friends. I've personally seen the lights heal broken bones to such an extent that the doctor on the follow-up thought maybe there was a problem with the original x-ray. They've healed serious injuries that just couldn't seem to repair, such as my knees after an injury, and healed all kinds of inflammatory issues. Of course, because I own them, I'm able to use them consistently and for a long enough period of time to get beneficial results. My understanding from the research I've read is that lasers are dramatically more effective than the red lights and with much less time required for beneficial results. However, that being said, I also understand that for chronic conditions, it's necessary to continue treatment even if not as often. For instance, I read one study where some of the participants were able to get off thyroid medication after light therapy, but they had to come back and get more laser therapy every 6 months to a year to be able to stay off the medication. And I've noticed that world-class athletes tend to continue their laser treatments over an extended period of time, although not as frequently as immediately after an injury. My personal conclusion is that light therapy heals mitochondrial damage and heals inflammation, but it may be necessary to continue treatment at a reduced frequency. Of course, it's for the expert to say if that's correct or not. About a year ago, I went to a doctor for laser treatments for serious inflammation beyond the scope of my red lights. These treatments were very effective, although requiring multiple trips for a few months to Salt Lake for basically a 5-minute treatment. Nonetheless, totally worth the effort. On another note, I was privileged to find a study from Japan in the early 1990s that changed my worldview about health. The study had been translated into English and was 400 pages. In the study, I was amazed at how beneficial modalities have such differing degrees of efficacy in different people. There are many people in the study, all of whom had severe injuries or severe health conditions, and all used the same specific protocol. What was interesting to me is why the same protocol was practically miraculous for some, and for others moderately or only mildly beneficial. What the study found is that some people only used the healing protocol and not anything else. Those were the people who had only a mild beneficial effect. Most of the people who had more success adopted the same healthy lifestyle choices that people generally make when they want to be healthy in terms of food, exercise, sleep, etc. But beyond that, the people who experienced what seemed like miraculous responses had adopted a really wide variety of additional strategies. There didn't seem to be a common denominator between these additional strategies. Some did one thing, some another. The thing they all had in common was that for all of the people who experienced miraculous results, they were very serious about getting these results and did everything in their power to support healing. It's interesting that this study was done in Japan. It feels to me that our culture does not support the kind of efforts that lead to miraculous results. What do you think? Do you sometimes feel like you're being told that it's sufficient to just take a pill or go see a doctor and nothing else is needed? I invite you to consider, do you think it's important to reduce exposure to things that make inflammation and mitochondrial damage worse to get the best results from using a laser? I invite you to consider how much better you could feel by applying the following along with laser use: healthy food, healthy exercise, healthy water, healthy air, healthy talking to yourself, and even reducing EMF exposure as much as possible. What do you think?
Thank you for sharing that with us, Laura. It's very, very interesting. And now it is my privilege to introduce our very own Dr. Michael Hogue. I'm going to give a little bit of a background, as he has lived a life of gaining knowledge and has led him to starting Laser Recovery Institute. When Michael was 13 years old, he was involved in an accident where he was struck by a commercial semi-truck traveling at 50 miles an hour. When the truck collided with him, it threw his body 125 feet, landing on his head. As you can imagine, that resulted in a lot of injuries, severe injuries, to the point where the doctors were not sure that he was going to make it. Miraculously, Michael started to make a recovery, and that came with a lot of challenges. However, through these challenges, Michael always excelled in academics. He was in the 99th percentile through high school, graduating early, entering college. He's received multiple degrees. He has a degree in computer science and neuroscience through Harvard. He later became an educator through Purdue Global University. And during all of this, he started his own therapeutic treatments for himself, using his neuroscience background and using light technologies. And that has led him to looking furthermore into lasers and opening the door to the amazing things that lasers can do for our bodies and furthering that healing. So without any further ado, welcome, Dr. Michael Hogue. We're excited to learn from you.
Thank you. Caleb, that was a very nice introduction from start. There we go. Okay, so Caleb kind of gave an introduction of kind of where I've been and what I've done. I wanted to start by just briefly discussing kind of where lasers have been and where we're going with them. So Brittany already talked to us about some of the major landmarks with lasers, but in the health sciences realm, particularly in America, kind of the first lasers that came out, they were called cold lasers, and there's this company that are still doing great work today. It's called Zirconia, and they came out with cold lasers, and they produced a lot of research, and they got FDA cleared, and they were using these lasers to help people with pain management. And with all this research, they learned a lot. And so lasers have been used for decades to help with pain management. But then they started to be used for other things, and it was discovered that they help with the bone, like regrowing after it's been fractured, or with scar tissue being eliminated. And they've tried it on hair growth and a whole bunch of other things. And the work with laser on the brain is definitely much more limited than any other laser work that's been done, but what we've discovered so far is quite amazing. And so these circles that I have shown on the screen, it represents the academic, scientific, clinical knowledge of practitioners who are using laser on the brain. And then I'm going to discuss what we're adding to that. But first, let's start with this here. So we've got this picture here, and there's a red laser, if you can see, in the front part of the brain that's illuminating the brain. And then this diagram kind of shows the different things that we can expect to happen And so at the very top, 12 o'clock, increased synaptogenesis. And so basically what we're just saying here is that the laser is going to help the brain make more connections with other brain cells. And why is that important? Because brain cells die all the time, and it's really hard to get new brain cells. So if you can make your brain cells that you have connect better, then you can have a higher functioning brain. Increased angiogenesis. And so basically what is this saying is that the laser helps have new blood cells too. And so who doesn't want more blood cells? I mean, blood is so important, carrying oxygen and nutrients to every tissue in your body. And you can't go very long without blood cells and still stay alive. Increased blood flow. There are different wavelengths of laser that actually cause nitric oxide to be produced, and that is going to protect your heart, and it's also going to increase your blood flow, and it's also going to make sure that the parts of the brain that are the most vulnerable are going to get the blood that they need. Decreased inflammation, decreased apoptosis. Of course, there are certain circumstances in which you want apoptosis, but generally speaking, we do not want the body to be killing its own brain cells. Increased neuron progenitor factor, increased antioxidants, increased neurotropins. So the brain-derived neurotropic factor and the neurotropic growth factor, both of those are involved with making sure you have healthy brain cells that are going to be able to stay alive and do their job. And then, of course, reduced neurotoxicity, which is kind of a high point that I'm going to be discussing. But just to say that the brain has less toxic things that are going to cause it to be damaged or to die. And so here, this slide is just discussing the mitochondria. And the reason why I put a whole slide for this is because this is where it's all at for the people who are currently promoting using the brain for using the laser for the brain. And you can see here the list of benefits that they have found. Vascular disease, atherosclerosis, pulmonary and respiratory disease, neurodegeneration, celiac cancer. This is the mitochondria that we're talking about, metabolism, skeletal muscles. So anyway, it does a whole bunch. And now let's get into the electron transport chain. So it's not expected that anybody here is a scientist, and maybe you haven't even taken biology anytime recently, but there's this thing called the electron transport chain, and that's what the mitochondria use to create this substance known as ATP. And if you don't know what ATP is, that's like the cellular currency for energy. And so anytime a cell needs energy, it needs ATP, and you either need to make it through the electron transport chain, or you need to get another high energy molecule and break that apart to get some ATP. The thing about laser is that it helps every single one of the four complexes of the electron transport chain. We have this thing called uncoupling of the mitochondria, and that's been associated with every neurodegenerative disorder. And those include, like ADHD and autism. And also every neurodegenerative disorder is linked to mitochondrial dysfunction. So like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And the fact that laser helps all these is really important. And so the researchers have really stuck to that. And it's wonderful. It's a great benefit to using laser. And really, you need all the different colors. I think I'm going to be getting into that in a moment, but if I don't, I'll just tell you. The benefits of laser, I've got some notes here on my phone. The violet is best for antimicrobial support, scar tissue breakdown, nitric oxide formation, autonomic nervous system balance, and it has a general overall calming effect on the body, especially when you apply it to the temple. And it does wonders for children to calm them down. Green is best for collagen formation, elastin, chondrocytes, stem cells, bone and nerve regeneration. So here you use the green if you have some injury to your bone, if you need some collagen to come. And the green has been absolutely amazing for me. Caleb told you about my fall when I was 13, and I was doing okay, but then I had another fall about 2 to 3 years ago, and it was a 16-foot fall, and it did a number on me, and I was just getting worse, and I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get better, and I was in a walker for like a year and a half. I started using the green laser in the bath water, and I'm going to be getting into that in a moment too, why I decided to do that. And it's just made all the difference. I'm getting my function back. I may not look normal, but I'm like way better than I was. And then the red laser is good for stimulating interleukin 10, for autonomic support, and for cellular function. And so really, and then we've got the infrared that is excellent for mitochondrial support, and it's got the ability to penetrate deep into the deep brain structures. And so really the best thing is that you're using all of the different wavelengths of the laser, because they all have benefits. And specifically the red, the green, and the violet, they all tap into the mitochondria to maybe offset some of that mitochondrial damage that is happening. And we could talk about what's causing the mitochondrial damage. There's a whole bunch that goes to that. But in this introductory webinar, we're going to have to kind of keep things simplified a bit. When a baby has jaundice, you don't place the baby under a red light or under a green light or under an infrared light. You place the baby under a blue light to fix the jaundice. And if you think about it, the blue light doesn't have a big enough wavelength that it can actually reach the liver. So how is it that the blue light fixes the liver problem, which is jaundice? And really what happens is you have a cascade of effects from the blue light hitting the baby that eventually helps the liver to recover. It's kind of an interesting thing, and it's really important to understand why these wavelengths matter, because there's a lot of confusion about how to use laser and what wavelengths you need and what power you need and all that. And I am going to be getting into that in a little bit. I also wanted to bring up inflammation and autoimmunity, both of which the laser has been shown to help with. And then pain, of course. Studies have shown that the red laser is superior to NSAIDs. And if you don't know what NSAIDs is, it's the standard over-the-counter pain medicine. Also opioids. The red laser is at an average of 6 times more efficient than LED red light therapy. And this is because it triggers long-term repair of the cell and also pain relief. And so a short duration of laser, in addition to that, it actually causes the skin to produce vitamin D, and that has a global effect on the body by reducing inflammation and causing bone strengthening and immune system support types of things. And so here we have laser needing to you needing to be exposed to it for a shorter time and getting this massive benefit. There's no amount of red light therapy or ultraviolet therapy, like with a tanning salon, that you can do to cause your skin to generate collagen or vitamin D. And so it's really an amazing thing. All right, so we've kind of talked about, up to this point, what the current research on, or the current clinicians that are publishing their work on lasers have talked about. And now I want to just sort of get into my own work. And the reason why I call it my own work is because I've taken the insights of researchers in 5 different fields and kind of merged them together into what is called a synthesis. And every piece points to these new theories that I've been developing. And I think it's going to have a monumental effect on the science of laser recovery through the brain and also through the body. And so I just wanted to give you a really brief discussion about some of these fields that are most critical. And one of them is the structured or the exclusion zone water that was introduced to us almost a decade ago, or maybe about a decade ago, by Gregory Pollack. And essentially what he discovered is that water is the least understood of all of the liquid molecules that we know of. It has different zones within it. And so all of the stuff that is not water clumps together within the water. And so you have completely pure water, and then there's these exclusion zones that has everything else. And what Dr. Pollack has uncovered, and what others have followed up on, is that the more exclusion zone water you can have within your body, the healthier it is for you. And so there's been a lot of speculation, how is exclusion zone water created, and if you ingest it, will it have an effect on your body, and how can we get it inside our body, how can we measure it? And there's still so much that we just don't know about it. But there is some really amazing things that we've been able to uncover. And one thing, and this is one of the earlier pieces of research that I picked up, and when I say earlier, I mean it's published a few months ago. This is cutting edge research that we're dealing with here, is that the green laser optimizes brain function. And it actually increases the brain cell's ability to do its job in a magnificent way. And it also increases the brain's ability to clear toxic waste. And so, yeah, a little bit more about Pollack. I guess I already skipped past this, but the battery, scientists have been able to plug little LEDs into water with nothing else, just water and LEDs, and to power the LED with the water. They've been able to prove that water, it has batteries within it. Pretty amazing. So this is the other piece of research that was absolutely like mind-blowing for me. And what it says is that when you place the green laser on the water, it kind of moves along the surface of the water and creates crystalline structures. And that's what gave me the idea to shine the laser into my bath water. And I couldn't believe the effect that it had on me. Almost instantly, I noticed that I had triple the strength. I could stand on my right leg, which is something that I haven't been able to do for a long time. It changed the way that I get dressed. I mean, I felt kind of dysfunctional, and I'm now feeling less dysfunctional because of this green laser. And we're still learning more about it. Like, we're learning about it every day. What's the appropriate power setting, and how to measure it, and how to keep it safe and everything. I've got this little video clip. This was on YouTube by Dr. Gare. He's one of the leading guys with the zirconia laser systems. And if you want one of those, talk to us. We'll help you get one. And he's just sharing some of the testimonies that he's had by using his green and violet lasers that their company makes. So let me go ahead.
Invited to come out and to go to the Lakers training facility, which was like a dream come true for me. I've been a lifelong Lakers fan, and when I showed up there, Kurt Rambis, who played in the Showtime era Lakers with Magic Johnson, won all those championships, he comes out and asks me, "Hey, what's the deal with these lasers?" And so instead of lecturing him about it, I said, "Well, let me try something on you. What do you got going on?" He had a shoulder injury where he couldn't bring his arm up very high, and he had chronic pain in the shoulder, this throbbing pain. I did a 10-minute treatment on him with the FX405 and the GVL stacked into there together, had him do little small range of motion movements that anybody can do on day one. He gets up after 10 minutes, he had improved range of motion, and the throbbing pain was gone. So he had me work on the other trainers, and particularly on the strength coach, Randy Flores. And Randy had no pain when he was there, but I had him ask him if there's anything that was bothering him. And he said when he would do squats, he would have severe knee pain, and he couldn't squat his normal weight. So I did laser on him. I did a little advanced protocol, a neuro-recalibration protocol. If you come out and see me live, we'll get you into workshop groups to do this one. It's really awesome and generates a lot of referrals. But I did that on him. He went and did some squats that night, and he talked to me later, said, "Dude, that was amazing. I had no pain. I was able to do my max again." Talked it over with Rambis and with other trainers. We want to guinea pig my wife. This is his wife. This is Bethany. And what Bethany did is Bethany was a professional CrossFitter. And she had chronic back pain since she was 12 years old. She was a gymnast, and she'd been living with it. But it got so bad that a couple of years ago, she couldn't compete in the CrossFit Championships. So they wanted me to guinea pig her and to see what we could do with stacking the FX and the GVL. And so Bethany came in twice a week for the FX in the office. We did the standard 20-minute protocol that is pre-programmed. So anybody can do this on day one with your FX out of the box. And I'll show you some videos of it. You stick the laser on the back, you push the button, and we stuck the GVL into where it can dock into the FX. And we did a 20-minute protocol. And then she rented the green and violet and took it home over the next approximately 8 weeks and would use it at home several times a day. Now, Bethany had been to chiropractors, physical therapist. She had a home red light therapy kit. Nothing was working. She wasn't going to be able to compete in the CrossFit Games. So she tried this. She said if she could drop it down by a 1, she'd be ecstatic. We got her down to a 0. We got her out of pain within approximately 8 weeks before the CrossFit Games. She also said it took care of plantar fasciitis and some neck pain that she had as well. And the cool thing is when she went and she competed in the CrossFit Games, she actually came in 15th in the world, which was amazing. So then the next year she came back in, and this time she's not really in pain. She did notice when she wasn't getting regular laser therapy that her performance wasn't as great. So she said, "Hey, I want to rent that laser again." She rented the GVL and utilized it for a couple of months leading up to the event. And what was really awesome is that this time she competed not only with no pain, but she finished number 1 in the USA and number 4 in the world. The protocol we did for this, so take a screenshot of this or ask for my slides. You can send me an email to drgair@gmail. That's drgair @gmail, and I'll send you out my slides for this. Sample protocol for it is, it's just 7 to 20 minutes that you're going to do on there. So we had more time. We did the 20-minute protocol with the preset on the FX. And then for the GVL, we use these settings, 8, 25, 42, and 279. Or you can use 1, 10, 40, and 60. At home, she would do it 2 to 3 times a day for 10 to 20 minutes. It could go for up to an hour. Really great results. And here's a cool thing for all of you that already have zirconia lasers. or who are looking into getting them. Make sure you follow Bethany on Instagram. She has over 500,000 patients or people, following her on Instagram. And she's agreed now to partner with us for the next 3 years. And she's going to be doing promo videos of her utilizing the lasers while she's training and talking about the lasers in videos. So this is going to create massive, massive brand awareness. And patients are going to be looking for doctors who have the zirconia lasers and know how to use them. So it's great for all of you here watching this webinar. So one other thing that we'll do with these lasers is do performance enhancement. We can do it for vision or just for general performance. And this is what the lasers will do. This study here said that when athletes get laser before they do their activities, they perform as if they've taken performance enhancing drugs. They have bigger muscles, takes them longer to fatigue. They're able to repair faster as well. And this study actually said they weren't sure lasers should be allowed in international competitions because it seemed to give these laser athletes an unfair advantage, which who doesn't want an unfair advantage? Whether it's an elite athlete or a pickleballer or a golfer, we all want to do our best and beat our friends. And this is what Dr. Michael Trafford, known across our sports community, what Dr. Michael Trafford did at his centers and in South Carolina, in Asheville. He's got the Apex Brain Centers, and working on this gentleman, Mateo Mitchell, he was an Olympic, already had medaled in the past in the 4x400, and now he's doing the bobsled. He would come into Dr. Trafford's clinic to enhance his sports performance. And you're going to see that what Dr. Trafford had him doing is different brain exercises and then stacking the laser on top of it. And with that, he can enhance his reaction time. His speed is better. We've done this with athletes, just lasering the brain, where we'll see athletes be faster, throw the ball harder, etc. It's very easy to do. You don't have to have a diplomate in functional neurology. If you do, you'll do even better. But if you don't, you literally get the laser on the brain, have them do cardinal fields of gaze, eye tracking on here, fixation on an object, and you can do balance exercises, put them up on a vibration plate while they're being lasered, and you can enhance their sports function.
That's a pretty cool clip from somebody who's been using lasers and has had a lot of great experience. And I'm connected a little bit to that the Apex Center because I was trained by a lot of the same people and in the same area and everything. So I'm pretty familiar with that protocol and how it works and everything. It's pretty exciting, the idea of being able to combine functional brain rehabilitation with laser protocol. It's incredible. Yeah. So here also we've got Danica Patrick, who interviewed Dr. Trevor Berry, and he just discussed some of the things that he does, including laser. And he apparently felt that it was an instant anxiety cure. Pretty amazing. So we've got a lot of people thinking that they need a really powerful laser. And, you know, it's kind of like, I think of it like the kid who thinks a little bit of soap in the washing machine is good. Let's do better and just put a lot of soap in. And we all know what happens. I just feel like there's this competition. Give me a more powerful laser, and that way I know that I'm getting the stuff that I need. And really, that's not how it works at all. Essentially, if you're going to have a higher powered laser and you're going to apply it to your body safely, what that also means is that you have a much broader band of nanometers on the wavelength, which also likely means that it's an invisible light that only produces heat as far as you can discern. Whereas if it's a violet or a blue, those are high energy wavelengths, and so you put less watts on them, but you're producing more energy. And so we've got this unit of measurement called the electron volts, which is pretty interesting. And it just helps you to recognize that this thing about wattage of the laser, it can be pretty confusing. And there's other things that make it even more confusing, like collimators and diffusers. And so don't judge a laser by its wattage. That's the moral of the story. We've got the Zimmer laser, that's a 25-watt laser, unimaginable. And that must be producing some really, really high nanometer infrareds in order to produce that much, or to have some really strong filters on it. But anyway, we know that the infrareds are helpful because they help the mitochondria, and they can penetrate deeper into the brain and body. And the reds are good for pain, and the greens are good for bone formation, and the blue has some functions. We're still studying that. And then the violet is good for like inflammation and infections and sympathetic parasympathetic balance and so forth. So we know they all do different things, and that we need all the different colors. They're really helpful for us to have, but we just have to use them in the appropriate power so that it can be safe and efficacious. And just don't be fooled by somebody giving you, oh, my laser is better because it's more powerful. And so this is the laser that we are actually in the process of designing. It's a prototype image. We expect to have our laser, our official laser that's ready within the next 4 to 6 weeks. And I think, Caleb, you're going to be talking about that, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And let me just say that photobiomodulation is growing. I mean, look at this. This is a monthly search volume, and just in the last 4 years, it's gone way up from just below 16,000, and now we're getting, more than 62,000 hits. And if you look at, this is for red light therapy. It doesn't show on the slide, but that started with, below 725,000 to 3 million. And so this is a growing field, lots of interest, lots of advancement. As I mentioned, a lot of the studies that helped me to form my theory are just a few months old. I mean, just brand new information, hot off the press. And I would encourage you to check out some of my publications that I'm getting ready to put into peer-reviewed journals, but here they are in the white paper form. And I know you probably don't want to type all this out, but you can search for me or just contact me, and I'll send you links to my papers if you're interested. So, Caleb?
Thank you for sharing all that. I know you've been putting in a lot of work lately to be able to bring this laser technology forward. So as Michael has stated, there are some really good laser companies out there. He's mentioned the Urconia, there's the Advent, the Zimmer. These all produce amazing lasers that have put out really good results. But our vision, our purpose, is not only to educate, but to be able to provide a product that everyone can use and enjoy. A lot of these other lasers that are out on the market right now are very, very expensive. So unless you're a professional healthcare practitioner, or you've got a lot of money put away, a lot of these options are a little far out. So as Laser Institute Recovery, like Michael said, we are in the works of producing our very own laser. Like he said, we're researching and putting together our first prototype right now. You can be on the very forefront of this new technology that we're helping to put forward. We have a Patreon account, and we're in the works of getting a Patreon account. We can send you the information on that if you'd like to help us on this journey, and in return, we can help get a laser into your hands. Moving forward, we will also be having more instructional seminars where Dr. Hogue will be instructing how to use these and how to do it safely. And through those seminars, they will be paid seminars. You'll receive certificates to show that you know how to use the laser safely and properly. And we encourage you to go to our website, laserrecoveryinstitute.com. From there, you can find a link that will take you to further seminars, and where we will hopefully be doing some in person as well. With all that, and with the amazing experiences that Dr. Hogue has shared with himself and that we've heard from Laura, I'd like to share a couple more testimonials. Myself, actually, very recently, a couple years ago, I had a back injury working out in the gym with bad posture. I buckled and I severely inflamed a disc and several muscles and vertebrae, and which took months to years to get functionality and strength back into them. And just recently, this last week, I seemed to tweak my back again to the point where it was very difficult to sit and to stand, and even sleeping was uncomfortable. And I used these lasers on my back for a couple nights in a row, about 2 to 5 minutes a session. And almost overnight, the pain and the discomfort was gone. It's incredible how fast these lasers can work. Another one, Cindy in Washington was experiencing a lot of anxiety, stress. She was getting a lot of stress migraines to the point where it was making it very difficult to do her job, to the point where she was getting put on not so much a work probation, but a watch, performance watch. And as she told me about this, we used the green laser on her cranium for about, I think we did about 3 to 6 minute sessions. And overnight, once again, the tension migraines just stopped. She had clarity the next coming days after that. She said that her clarity of mind was becoming clearer and sharper. An interesting thing is even colors. Just perceiving the natural world, she was able to perceive colors differently and brighter, more vivid. And so these lasers have the real potential to do a lot of good for a lot of people, and can do a lot of amazing things for you and in your own life. Yeah. We invite you to continue to go on this journey with us, as we are going to strive to do our very best to provide trainings and products and lasers for you, so that you can experience this for yourself in your own home, so you can share it with loved ones. We all know somebody that is hurting, and if only we had something that could help them. That is our whole goal, is to be able to bless many lives. Ed from Cincinnati, Ohio, shared his experience, saying, 3 years ago, I was suffering from severe pain in my left knee. I found Cruz Life Center in Burnsville, North Carolina, that used laser therapy. By the end of the week, my knee pain was gone. Again, after a week of treatments, my pain was gone, and I'm able to exercise and work out. Rick L., an arthro laser patient, noted great results following total knee replacement surgery. The recovery has been easier and with better pain and inflammation management. Highly recommends. A patient at Soundside Physical Therapy reported, I have to say that my recuperation from spinal surgery has dramatically improved ever since using the laser. The treatment is painless and at times relaxing. My pain level has significantly improved. I think that's one of the side effects that Dr. Hogue and I both noticed right off the bat, is the soothing and the relaxing that can come from these lasers as well.
There was a woman that I applied the laser to who had some anxiety and depression, and she reported that afterwards she felt more balanced and stable. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of colors and light, I had the same experience. The first time I used the laser, I actually recorded in my journal that even though I don't have any vision problems, after I was done, all the colors looked so much more vibrant. It was pretty remarkable. I don't know why. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen, and if you want any of these lasers, we will try to get them for you. And these are the two lasers that we ourselves are manufacturing. And so this LightFlow Quinta Home is likely the one that you might be interested in. And so the price is $864. Now, that probably seems like a bunch of money, but I don't know if you heard when Laura said that she wanted a laser and found out that it was 40,000.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at the Avant laser, those go for the home version around 6,500. And in order to get all the colors, you'd need two of them. So really 13,000, or you could rent one, I guess. And then there's the Erconia, which we watched the video on, and those are like $16,000+. And the Zimmer lasers are like 30,000. So $864, it's a steal. And, it cost us a bunch of money just to make this. It's going to have all of the different colors.
Mm-hmm.
You just buy this one unit and it's got all the different colors. And we're going to make sure that it's up to the highest standards, that it'll be fully compatible with the leading players, which we've already mentioned their names. Our lasers are going to be up to par with theirs. And so it's pretty amazing that we can make that claim, but we're very confident that we will. And so basically, the price for these is actually going to be $3,000. But while we're going through the process of getting this cleared with the FDA, we're going to need to be doing some research on it. And if you agree to participate in the research, we can give you a research discount of $1,800. And then because you're here tonight, we're doing a launch offer of $336. And so the total brings it down to $864.
Now, we invite you to jump on our website, check that out, and if you're interested, please place your order. Like Michael or Dr. Hogue said, that we have about a 4 to 6 week lead time as we are working on finalizing the designs and getting these lasers produced. But yeah, this offer is incredible. Like you said, this is a price that you can really get into your home.
Yeah.
And for the health benefits that it comes, good health is priceless. And so that is what is motivating us, is to be able to help you to have those amazing results in your own home.
Yeah. Yeah. And, discussing it from our perspective, when you find out that you can charge that much money for something, it's a little bit of a tempting thing. Like, wow, I could make a lot of money on this. But when I got to thinking about it, I realized, you know what? If I charge X number of thousands of dollars for this thing, then people won't be able to get it in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the real motivator.
Yep. We want to make sure that people can actually afford to have these. And so that's what's driving this. We've done everything we can to find out how to keep these prices reasonable. And I think that this 864 is just phenomenal. It's mind-blowing, phenomenal. But I also want to reiterate that it is not our intention to be just a laser manufacturer. My main interest is to be an educator. It's what I do professionally. I enjoy learning, and I really enjoy teaching.
Hopefully, you were able to learn something new, get some new information that can be helpful. And we're really grateful that you would take the time out of your evening to spend with us, as we are excited about where this is going to go and how many lives it's going to bless.